There's a lot of notions around female friendships, or females, or girls don't. First of all, I don't like the word female. I don't know why I used it. Forgive me. But yeah, women. Apparently, women we're not good friends. We don't support each other. Like that's the worldview that has been painted, as if men's relationships with each other don't go through ups and downs. I know more men than women that gossip about each other. I know men who have problems with each other, but it's never painted in the light of they hate each other or they're not for each other and stuff. But if a woman has a disagreement with another woman, which happens in relationships, it then happens to be that, oh, women hate each other. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Belinda, also known as Muna Kampala, and I'm the host of the Can We Talk podcast, which is a Ugandan podcast. We have honest, fun, thought-provoking conversations at Can We Talk. So if it's your first time here, kulikayo wherever you've been lost at. If it's your second or third time here, or you're a subscriber, you're an OG, starter, shout out to you. I'm excited to come back this month with new content. We're exploring the theme of gender this month at Can We Talk. It was kicked off with a blog post by the amazing Karen that you should check out on our website, canwetalkpodcast.online. She wrote about the evolution of man and what it means to be a real man. And we will be having a conversation on the podcast because the podcast is still running, guys. Don't subscribe to the YouTube channel only. You have to go subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. So we will be having a conversation on there as well. Maybe two, hopefully, if I can get to two of them. But what are we talking about today? So today we're talking about the amazing experience of being a woman, and not just any woman, but a black woman, a Ugandan woman, a Muganda woman. All those things have implications, you know. Being a black woman has an implication. Being a Ugandan woman has an implication. Being a Muganda has an implication. A Muganda woman has an implication. So again, same goes for you. Like whichever way you define your identity, all those things have implications. So today we will be reviewing Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi's A Girl is a Body of Water. I talked about this in the first YouTube video that I did. If you didn't watch it, I will post the link for you to watch it. I gave 5 Ugandan books that you should check out. And we're going to be discussing gender with the backdrop of this book. Don't worry, if you have not yet read it, there are not going to be any spoilers. It's just going to be more of a general discussion, just diving into the themes that she explored in terms of growing up as a Ugandan woman. So let's start with some story time. At Can We Talk podcast, we love stories because stories are the ways that we make sense of the world as humans. So for me, growing up as a Ugandan woman, my experience, again, it will be different from other people's experience. I grew up privileged. A lot of people shy away from saying they were privileged, but it's not a bad thing to be privileged. It's what you do with your privilege, as well as admitting it. It's not a dirty word the way people try to make it seem, you know. Anyway, so I grew up privileged. I grew up in the middle class. I think in Uganda, if you're part of the middle class, you're pretty much more privileged compared to the ordinary Ugandan in terms of access to like the schools I went to, the people I met, and things like that. And on top of that, I was privileged in terms of the family I grew up in. So I was lucky that I grew up in a family that didn't really make gender a thing. Like, you know how in some families, like they'll be like, you know, you're the girl, go do this. I was lucky that I was sheltered from that from a young age. I think it's because we were many girls. But like, I remember in my home, as much as my brother did the dishes, I did the dishes as well. Like the chores were the same. If I wanted, I remember playing soccer outside. Like I wasn't into dolls. Like, so I used to I was allowed to go out and play bikes, like ride bikes or something like that, the whole thing. So I was privileged. And as much as my family sheltered me from the realities of being a girl, they can't shelter you as much as, like, family can shelter you only so much. Like, you still have to go into the world and society, and then you begin to discover that, hey, like, me being a woman is a thing. Like, it's going to affect the decisions I make, it's going to affect my life, it's going to affect a lot of things, you know? And I remember, like, the first time gender became a thing for me was, I think, like, in school, especially when you become a teenager, and now you're like you start noticing how the parents are a bit more like, they don't want you to go out because, again, you're a girl. I don't mean like going out is a thing, but like in terms of like your safety, you realize that you're not as safe as living your life, going about and living your life as your brother is, maybe. Or you begin to notice that as a girl you can't do certain things. If you want to dream certain careers, they try to they steer you away from them. They're like, but don't you want to do this? It's like, no, but me, I want to do this. So slowly by slowly, like, that's when you start to realize, like, okay, being a girl or being a woman or my gender has implications. So as I was reading Jennifer's book, A Girl is a Body of Water, like I always say, I like Jennifer because I feel seen in her stories. I feel like she writes for me. But even in a lot of other books that I've read, Chimamanda, Akweke, Emezi, you start to see the parallels. Even when you have conversations with your friends, like women, regardless of where they're from, regardless of where they grew up, there are a lot of parallels in our stories in terms of how culture has affected the decisions we've made, or the way we move through life, or the things of ourselves, like in terms of our personalities that we had to change. And I feel like Jennifer really brought that out well in the book. So for those who haven't yet read the book, a little backstory or plot of the book is, the book follows Chirabo. Chirabo is a young Ugandan girl. She grows up in the village called Nateta, and she grows up with her grandparents before she eventually moves to Kampala to live with her father. And all this is happening while she's in deep search for her mother. So she doesn't know who her mother was, and she spends her life searching for her mother. And this search leads her to discover more about who she is as a woman and her place in this world. And a lot of that discovery is through the conversations that she has with Nsuta. Nsuta is what they call, like, the village people refer to her as a witch or what. You know, that one lady back home who, because she lives alone and she has no kids, and yeah, so she goes to Nsuta for some advice in terms of searching for her mother, because Nsuta may know something about her mother. And through Nsuta, she begins to talk about what it means to be a woman. And one of the first things I remember when I was reading the book is they were talking about those little things that culture makes you do as a woman, and as a kid you feel like, but I want to do this, you know, like they tell you, girls don't do that, girls don't play rough like that, or girls don't do this. And deep inside you actually feel a thing. I remember the time I was talking to my niece and she said, I feel something inside me. And that for it wants to do this, you know. And Jennifer writes about it so amazingly, like in A Girl is a Body of Water. So among the themes that she explores in the book is, she explores feminism, which is called, this one I had to write it down, guys. My Luganda failed me. I had to write it down. In Luganda it's called Mwenkano Kano. I think I've said that right. Yeah, Mwenkano. And I didn't even know that the Ugandans had like Luganda, like I didn't know that was the Luganda word for feminism, I won't lie. And in this, when she's talking about feminism, she talks about it as, there's a part in the book where Chirabo, because Chirabo comes from a village, right, Nateta. And the first time she hears about feminism, she says, those things are for the rich people, you know? And I just wanted to just stop there, pause there for a minute. Let's first unpack that. I feel like it's very important that people realize that as much as feminism is political, it's just as much personal. As women, we all go through different experiences that you can't think that my experience as a black woman, for example, is the same as a white woman's experience, or my experience as a Muganda could be different from a woman from maybe a Choli. My experience as a black, I said black, yeah, as an African woman is different from even a black woman who has grown up in the Western world, you know? And I think that's important to first note. And that's why I think feminism, in terms of she thought that feminism is for the the elites, because that's the feminism that is marketed. But there is feminism in standing in your own power wherever you're at in your personal life. Another theme that she explored was female friendships, which I think was beautifully brought out in this book. There's a lot of notions around female friendships, or females or girls don't. First of all, I don't like the word female. I don't know why I used it. Forgive me. But yeah, apparently women, we're not good friends, we don't support each other. Like, that's the world view that has been painted. As if men's relationships with each other don't go through ups and downs. I know more men than women that gossip about each other. I know men who have problems with each other, but it's never painted in the light of they hate each other or they're not for each other and stuff. But if a woman has a disagreement with another woman, which happens in relationships, it then happens to be that, oh, women hate each other. Another thing that she talked about that I found really interesting was the way women sometimes make men God. And these men won't be God unless you make them God, if that makes sense. If it makes sense, hallelujah. If it doesn't, what it means is a lot of times, like, the disagreements we get into over men or stuff like that, or even having a discussion of feminism and still making men the subject. That thing irks me. I'm like, why is man the subject when we're trying to talk about women? you know? But yeah, she explored that theme beautifully as well, and then she also explored relationships. So in the book Chirabo and Sio, I can already see like a relationship if a movie ever comes out. She talks about Sio is like the more Chirabo's educated. He's not really educated. Like, he's a quote-unquote male feminist or feminist ally, I should say. And it was interesting to see how politics plays out also in like your dating life or the relationships you have. Who are you picking to be in a relationship with as a woman? Does he support the dreams you have for yourself? Does he support the fact that you deserve equal rights as well, and things like that? Like, that is, again, it's much personal just as much as it is political. And to wrap this up, I just wanted to talk about a specific part that Suta, the grandmother, who is telling her about being a woman and stuff. There's this particular page that I will read straight from the book that I really liked, that I think is like, can wrap up what being a woman is like. And she says that you do not realize, but Asians had an irrational fear of the nature of women, that they would try anything to keep them under control. So this was being said in regards to water bodies in Uganda are all usually named after women. And I had never even realized that. Like, I had never taken time to realize that, yes, it's Nalubale, Amabele, Ganyinyamwiru, like, it's all the rivers, water bodies are named after women. So she's saying that women, like, the water bodies are named after women because women can be a lot of things, and they try to contain us to not be like what we can, all that we can be. So she says that water has no shape. It can be this, it can be that, depending on where it flows. The sea is inconstant. It cannot be tamed. It does not yield to human cultivation. It cannot be owned. You cannot draw borders on the ocean. To the ancients, women belong with the sea. So I think like for me that really stood out, and it also gives the name of the book, which is A Girl is a Body of Water. But the book is much more deeper than that. So I hope you really go out and get this book and read it and enjoy it. I think if you buy it from a UK publisher, it's called The First Woman. But yeah, I just wanted to leave the episode by talking about like how do you define yourself as a woman? Like what do you think defines? A lot of times you talk about a good man, but what do you think defines you as a woman? For me, I think it's stepping into my power, and that's in terms of every place that I go into, whether it's the workplace or it's in the home. I believe women were very powerful by nature. Like for me, I think that has been my biggest journey personally, because as women, patriarchy is deeply embedded in society. That patriarchy is like the boot. This is like a boot. This is your power as a woman, and patriarchy is like, nah, bitch, like stay down, you know. But I think the more you realize and step into your power, the more good comes towards you as a woman, honestly speaking. And that's stepping into your power, whether it's in relationships, whether it's at home. Like in relationships, a lot of times women, we forget that we hold the power. And we keep quiet about our demands and the things we want. No, man, step into your power. At the workplace, I remember I used to do this. I'm still guilty of it. I like to shrink myself. I'm like, no, let me be good. Let me do everything I need to do. And I go away quietly. And that's it. As long as I've done what I'm supposed to do. No, guys, step into your power. If you need to do what you need to do, step into it, because the world will make space for you, and you deserve to take up space in this world. So yeah, for you as a woman, if you're a woman watching this, how are you stepping into your power? Or what has been your journey for you in terms of as a woman, regardless of where you're from? If you're a guy watching this, check yourself. How are you checking yourself? And we are going to get into a discussion regarding masculinity on the podcast. I don't like talking about things I don't have experience or knowledge in. So I had to bring a guy to help me out. So a guy is going to come on. At Can We Talk, we do recognize that gender does go beyond just male, female. And we are still looking out there for someone to have a conversation with. So that will be coming up as well, hopefully. But yeah, that was it for this video on Can We Talk? Hey, for a minute. Hey, please don't forget to subscribe. I'm here, I'm dancing. Please subscribe, share, like, comment. Let me know which part you resonated with the most, or if you've watched. If you've read A Girl is a Body of Water. I believe it's The First Woman if you got it from the UK publishers. But that was it for this video.